Hi, Armand here with the 2019 forecast for all signs. Now that's an awful lot. Let's face it, that's an awful lot to try to do. 8% of the world's population for an entire year. That's an awful lot to do. So there's not a lot of specific stuff we can say. What I'm going to do, rather than try to tell you what your year is going to be like, is give you a little earworm, something to think about, something to hold on to over the course of the year, or maybe to use as something to set intentions with at the beginning of the year. I don't know. I'm going to give you the information as I see it, and you decide what to do with it. I'm not a bossy astrologer. I'm not telling you what to do. Oh, okay, I'll tell you what to do. You should, first of all, you should subscribe to this YouTube channel so you get monthly forecasts. That'll help. And also some special stuff that comes up. You should probably also go to armanddiaz.com where you can read the monthly forecast, which is a little bit different from the one I do on video. And you probably want to stop by Facebook. The page is Integral Astrology, and then you can get daily forecasts. And so there's a lot of stuff you can do to sort of fill in the blanks here. I'm just giving you a little overview of the year. So, you know, it's kind of a little bit broad, but it should be pretty useful to you. It should be useful to you in terms of your sun sign. It would be particularly useful for you, I think, in terms of your rising sign. And if you have a bunch of planets in a sign, a stellium as we like to call it, it might be useful for that as well. But I would pretty much stick to the sun and the rising sign. I mean, you could do it for the moon or essentially anything else if you want to do that level of interpretation. But this is really for sun and rising sign. All right, we're going to start out with Aries. First sign of the zodiac, why not start with them, right? So Aries, you guys have been under pressure for a couple of years. You guys have been under pressure for a bunch of years, and it's probably not going to let up too much. That pressure largely comes from the area of career, and that could be something that continues on in 2019. However, and I think this is a year of financial ups and downs for us all, and you guys might be leading the way with that. However, you can probably find some new ways to make money, a different approach to finances and making money in 2019, for better or for worse. You know, there's ups and downs associated with it, but you can probably find some new ways to make money in 2019. Most importantly, though, you've got pressure, and for the last few years, Uranus has been in your sign, pulling away from that square to Pluto, and that has given you a lot of drive to make changes. You're okay with changes, particularly if you're the one making them. Now Uranus is leaving your sign, and Chiron is coming in. And Chiron is less good for Aries, I would say, than Uranus. And there could be, you know, I'm not scaring you or anything like that. There could be a modicum of self-doubt that comes in. You know, where Uranus was emboldening you, that's a word, to make changes, Chiron would kind of put in a little bit of that, oh really, should I do this type of thing? The secret for you this year is to find out where your faith is, what you really believe in, what you really can say, this is got to be true, and this is what I've got to act from, and then act from it. It may be in the area of career, but it's just generally where you have faith. Jupiter in Sagittarius is helping you out with that. That's the trick for this year. Find what it is that you really can't doubt and use that as your motivation to go forward. Taurus. You guys like stability. And that's wonderful. Too bad that you're not going to have a lot of it for the next 7 years as Uranus goes through your sign. It's not that bad, but you know, you guys do like stability, and Uranus is not a planet that is known for stability. The trick for you this year particularly is to rest on the things that you know and you have faith in. This is subtly different from Aries. Aries has to find it and use it. You know what it is, but you have to apply what you have faith in, what you're sure you know about, to shifting circumstances. And those circumstances are going to shift for Taurus. It's, you know, you might not get the brunt of it right away or anything like that, but you're going to be feeling it. You're going to feel things shifting. So that's kind of where you've got to put your emphasis in the course of this year. It's probably a pretty good year if you need to get financing for something. I would say don't overextend yourself and be careful, because those ups and downs are going to be part of our picture. Again, it's financial ups and downs are part of the picture for everybody this year. But you probably can get financing and things like that if you need that. Gemini. Gemini, you've got a big emphasis in the area of partnership, and it looks like opportunities for you. And I think that the opportunities would probably be pretty good, and the question for you is which of these opportunities you're going to pursue. Now, that could be romantic partnership, but it could also be business partnerships. It could actually even be somebody who's an opponent, and maybe some of the question is who are you going to pick a fight with as much as who you're going to pick as a partner. Gemini being Gemini, there doesn't have to be just one answer to these things, but the thing is you don't want to spread the potential too thin. That is kind of a little bit of I don't want to say it's a worry, but it is kind of a potential pitfall for Gemini in 2019. Just not picking anything or, having too many opportunities, all of which look pretty good and you give a little attention to, but don't really make anything of any of them. For Gemini, this is not a good year to overextend yourself with debt, with things like credit card debt, dealing with banks and stuff like that. It is a good year to be very, very honest. And I'm not saying Gemini is a little slippery with things, but it's a very good idea to be very honest with things like taxes and any sort of forms that you fill out and so on. There's a little chance of getting caught when it comes to being a little bit less than honest. And I'm sure you're never less than honest, but some people. Cancer, it's a year to really be Cancerian. Those things that really matter to you, those things that you really have that very grounded Cancerian, heartfelt, emotional tie to. That's where you want to place your emphasis this year. And you should place your emphasis there this year in spite of challenges that may come to you from partnership, again, personal partnerships, romantic partnerships, possibly also business partnerships and things like that. There could be challenges that come to you from these areas. There could also be challenges for Cancer when it comes to friends. It may be that people that you've been friendly with for a long time are less appealing. You're looking for a new group of friends and things like that. So it's a year to be yourself and do your thing. Be very grounded in yourself. Giving a lot to others and their perspective could be a bit of a mistake this year. It could be kind of a drain for you. Whereas being yourself and doing what you feel is important should be fairly empowering. Leo. Good year, Leo. Year for following through on things like creativity, perhaps romance, but just things that make you feel good. Good Leonine heart stuff. It's a great year for that with Jupiter and Sagittarius. You should really get the most out of that. I think that would be the way to go. You follow your heart this year. You keep a sort of big picture look at things. And you should do that especially because there may be challenges in the area of career where there might be some changes coming up, and work just might have a lot of responsibility associated with it. Also, too, with all that fun and creativity and stuff like that that is such a part of 2019, you should watch, that you don't overindulge and that you take good care of yourself physically. That is, it's a good year to have a good diet and exercise program. We'll get on that right away. Cancer, by the way, also, too, probably could benefit from that kind of physical health emphasis in 2019. Although I think it'll be a little bit more of an upbeat type of thing, whereas Leo just sort of, you just better take care of yourself. Virgo, you've got a really, really good mix this year, Virgo. There is a lot of what I would call practical creativity for you, and that practical creativity, what other type of creativity is Virgo going to want anyway? It is, you can infuse your daily life and your daily work with creativity, and your creative projects can get a lot of action this year as well. So that's really, really strong. It's also a very good year for things having to do with home. Maybe you'll do some home projects or something like that this year. It might be a time when you start exploring other ideas about different philosophies, different religions, different cultures. Do a little exploration that way, even if it's only going to like a restaurant with a different cuisine or something like that. Break out of the box a little bit this year, Virgo. It's a really, really good time for it. It's not just this year, to tell you the truth, but it's a really, really good year for that. And so you've sort of got the wind at your backs this year. Libra. It's a little bit good, it's a little bit challenging, which is about what you want, right? It's kind of balanced. I think that there are some challenges that could come up from home and family, literally dealing with house issues. And when I say family, I mean mostly the family that you came from, like, your mom and pop and the aunts and uncles and like that group, rather than like, your kids and spouse type of thing. So there could be some extra responsibilities that come in that area. It's probably good to be very cautious, again, with things having to do with loans and debt and so on. You want to be a little bit careful with that kind of stuff this year. So all of that loan, bank, taxes stuff requires a cautious view. Scorpio. Scorpio, this is a year when you might just begin to sense a bit of a shift in terms of partnership. Now, if you're at the very beginning of the sign, you might actually have some activity, but all Scorpios might just sort of start feeling like it's time for a change. And keep in mind, because I know that sounds scary for a fixed sign like Scorpio, keep in mind that change is as likely, if not more likely, to be self-generated than something that comes from the outside. So, if there are changes on the horizon over the next couple of years in the area of partnership, it isn't necessarily something that happens to you in your partnership. Also, you can keep the same partner and just sort of change the way you do things a little. Put a little bit of flexibility into things and stuff like that. Maybe, if Friday night is movie night, maybe you'll order Chinese food instead on Friday night. Who knows? You can just make some sort of radical changes in your partnership. Scorpio, it should be a good year for finances. So that's something that you might want to focus on consciously this year. There should be real opportunities for finances. Moving on, we get to Sagittarius. Sag. Remember a few years ago, you had your ruler, Jupiter, was sort of not where he loves to be in Virgo, and Saturn was in your sign. It's completely better this year. It's completely better this year because you have Jupiter in his home sign, and it feels good, and Saturn is long gone from your sign, and so you've got a nice space there. It's almost sort of like a what can I do card. It's similar to Gemini in a way, because it's kind of, there are a lot of opportunities, there's a lot of possibilities, and the real choice for you, or the real challenge for you, is making a choice that works, as opposed to just looking at everything and being excited. It's like, if you go to the buffet, you've got to pick something out and actually go ahead and eat it. I think that it's important for you also to be careful that you don't overextend yourself financially, because Saturn got out of your sign a couple of years ago, but he went into Capricorn, and Saturn in Capricorn is your house of finances, and this is particularly true for those who have a Sagittarius ascendant. And so you've got to be a little careful about money this year and next year. But you've had Pluto in your house of finances since 2008, so you've been through worse. It's just don't overextend yourself, don't spend too much. You're feeling pretty good this year, but Capricorn, you got a lot of stuff here. Capricorn, you got a lot of pressure, and I can only be happy that it's Capricorn, because you guys are up for it, and that's pretty much where we have to look at things and say this should work pretty well for you. There's a to-do list that is mountains high, and start climbing that mountain. If you want the phrase for this year, though, Capricorn, it's this: work hard, play hard. Because, yep, you've got Saturn in your sign, along with Pluto. At the end of the year, Jupiter comes in. You've got the South Node there all year long. There is a lot of pressure, and even Capricorns sometimes feel like, wow, That's a lot. But work hard. But then into your house of creativity and romance and fun, you have Uranus coming. And so work hard and play hard. Try new things. If you've always wanted to go, rock climbing would be a good one. Indoor rock climbing. You can't really hurt yourself that badly there, I don't think. Um, Give it a try. If you want to do something that is just different, give it a try. Again, work hard, play hard, try not to burn yourself out. You should be getting that little, helpful hand from Jupiter in your 12th house, sort of a guiding guardian angel type of energy, or get out of jail free card, depending upon the analogy that works best for you. Aquarius, you guys have got some challenges perhaps around home. I think that might be where you would, again, literally house and family and the family of origin rather than your local family of, your spouse and kids type of thing. You might have responsibilities there. You might have changes. You might have an itch to make changes, particularly in terms of where you're living. I think that it's a very good year for friendship and networking and things like that. That's a real strong point for you in 2019. I think that Aquarius, if your actual physical grounded space, your actual physical home is somehow or another up in the air in some way or another, whether you're moving or doing repairs or who knows what's going on, you find your home in the sort of larger connected world. I mean, through the internet, through friendships, through networking and things like that. That's kind of where you're going to get the most out of it. So, yeah, there's challenges in some areas, but on the other hand, there's also something to kind of give you a lot of, I want to say, entertainment and enjoyment, as well as a sense of stability and just some general goodwill. When we come to Pisces, which is the last sign of the zodiac, so we must be winding up over here. And for Pisces, I want to point out that this is a year where friendships might be a little bit of a challenge for you as well. Those folks that are not sort of making the grade with you, or perhaps you're not making the grade with them, but I think probably the other way around, might be an area of contention for you. I could see some changes in your daily routine. I can see where you might have some career opportunities, though, that would be really, really good. And this is the Jupiter and Sagittarius thing for Gemini, for Sagittarius, and for Pisces as well, which is simply to say that you've got to actually choose something and do something with it. So if you hear about a job and say, well, that could be a pretty good job, you've got to apply for it. Or if there's a couple of things to choose from, pick one and go with it. So a lot of opportunities, particularly in the area of career for Pisces and Pisces ascendants, but you do have to make a choice. Now, in general, I've been saying that 2019 is a year of financial ups and downs, and I really do think it is a year of financial ups and downs as Uranus gets into Taurus, and we've all, there's really not much to say that since Venus went retrograde in Scorpio, and we've seen markets tumble, and we've seen fears of inflation, we've seen fears of a global slowdown. And one thing that you might notice about the situation as we come into 2019 is that there's a lot more fear than there is actual data to support it regarding the economy. That's really scary. That's really scary. If there's actual stuff to worry about, that's scary. But when there's not that much stuff to actually worry about and people are worried, that's really scary. That means that we're spooking ourselves. So that's a big concern. The other thing is that with Saturn in Capricorn and Saturn getting closer and closer to the meeting with Pluto and Uranus having gone into Taurus, we are seeing a lot of fallout from particularly the 2016 Saturn-Neptune square. And that was a time when we sort of opted for this kind of new world order or new world disorder. And we're kind of getting to the point of reckoning on that in the course of 2019. So what we'll be doing, and this is as, as Saturn actually makes a sextile to Neptune, we're going to be going back towards 2016 and saying, well, what did we do there? What choices did we make in 2016? And it's not just Brexit and the U.S. presidential election. In fact, what we're going to be doing, we're coming to the end of a cycle that began when Saturn and Neptune had a conjunction in the late 80s, okay? And that was the fall of the Berlin Wall and that whole business that happened back then. Right? A whole big realignment of things started to occur back in the late 80s and the earliest 90s. We are at the end of that cycle as Saturn comes to approach Neptune again, and they're going to conjunct in a few years, and like 5 years. And the thing that we're doing now is reckoning. This is a time of reckoning. Since that whole Iron Curtain fell and the world changed, how have we handled things? Where have things gotten better and where have they not gotten better? And that's a big social and political thing. And people are looking for something to ground them. For a long time, from the late 40s, I'll skip the astrology here, but from the late 40s through the late 80s, we had some, pretty certain, not so good, but we had some pretty certain political conditions in the world. They all came apart, and in the last 30 years, we've been looking to see what kind of world is going to come out of that. Now that the Iron Curtain fell, what kind of world are we making? We're looking towards that. What kind of choices did we make? A lot of folks want to go backwards, and that's scary. And when you combine economic uncertainty with political uncertainty, you got to make wise choices. And so, this is something to keep in mind. I don't think that you and I are going to make the difference, but do what you can and keep your heart in the right place. And we'll be talking to you every single month and beyond. So I look to see you soon. Bye bye.